morning from Disturbia. It is the 3rd of December, 2023. I was just perusing the internet the other day and reading in the comments section of a certain video. I don't recall what video it was. And this woman mentioned a term that I'd never heard of before called moral biomedical enhancement. I Googled it, and here you can see it. I'm going to shut this now so that I can read it. Moral enhancement, abbreviated ME, also called moral bioenhancement, abbreviated MBE, is the use of biomedical technology to morally improve individuals. MBE is a growing topic in neuroethics, a field developing the ethics of neuroscience, as well as the neuroscience of ethics. And then here we have further questions. What is an example of moral enhancement? Most of the applied ethics literature on moral enhancement focuses on moral bioenhancement, moral enhancement pursued through biomedical means, and considers examples such as the use of drugs to diminish aggression, suppress implicit racial biases, or amplify empathy. In other words, it's just going to it's almost like having a frontal lobotomy or a frontal lobe lobotomy, which is what happened to my great-grandmother. What is the moral status in biomedical ethics? To have moral status, an individual must be vulnerable to harm or wrongdoing. More specifically, a being has moral status only if it is for that being's sake that the being should not be harmed, disrespected, or treated in some other morally problematic fashion. What is biomedical enhancement? Biomedical technologies, they always add this word bio, of course, and they'll say, well, it's natural. And that's what they say about cancer-causing ingredients also. Well, it is found in nature. Well, arsenic might be found in nature also. Biomedical technologies such as drugs and surgical techniques can increasingly be used not only to combat disease, but also to augment the capacities of normal, healthy individuals. You see, notice this word enhancement, augmentation. It is a practice commonly referred to as biomedical enhancement. What is moral improvement? A straightforward way to define moral enhancement is as an intervention that leaves an individual with morally better motives or behaviors than they otherwise would have had. I mean, this is really sounding a lot like Frankenstein to me. Because what's going to happen, similar to the frontal lobe lobotomy that was introduced, I'm not sure when, I think in the 50s, by, of course, a son of Esau. And you can see actual procedures on YouTube if you can stand watching. It's what they used to do was with people that were in any way rebellious, especially with boy children, or if you were depressed, then you could go in and have a frontal lobe lobotomy. And there was this guy that I think he was the one who invented it, the son of Esau, who would actually travel around the United States doing lobotomies. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I didn't have a lobotomy also when I had my tonsils taken out. They told my mother that I because I began having grand mal seizures, and I had them for, I don't know for how long, because I was in a stupor after I had this so-called tonsillectomy, where they did take out my tonsils. But they put me on phenobarbital, I believe, and I was walking. I tried once, allegedly, I don't remember, to walk through a glass door at the store. We went to Tate's in Minneapolis, and my grandfather was really upset because I had tried to run through a glass door. I was completely out of control. Now, the reason why I think I had a lobotomy is because my great-grandmother was subjected to a lobotomy. I didn't know her. I have never seen a picture of her. I know that her name was Marie. And she had a really hard life, and I can't go into that right now because I don't have enough time. Maybe in a different video. But she was very depressed. She had 3 children. What happened was my great-grandmother had family living in Minneapolis, and she lived on a farm in Edmore, North Dakota, where my grandma was born. And the relatives from Minneapolis said, "Why don't you come to the city? It's a much easier life here. We'll help you," etc. So my great-grandmother and her Marie and her husband Abraham went with my grandma and the 3 children. I'm not sure when they were all born, if one was born in Minneapolis or not, but my grandma had 2 siblings, and my grandma was the oldest, and they moved to Minneapolis. And long story short, my great-grandfather Abraham went back to the farm, and I found this all out on internet because my grandma, the only thing she ever told me about him was that he was killed in a runaway when he was 63. He went back to Edmore, North Dakota, and he advertised for help in the house, and he wound up marrying this woman. And they had several children together. I'm not sure if they had 2 or 3 kids, but one of their children died a couple of years ago, and they had her picture on the internet, and she looked rather like my grandma. She looked quite a bit like my grandma. And anyway, long story short, my great-grandmother Marie was really depressed. And she was raising 3 children, and Ruth, my grandmother's sister, developed tuberculosis and died when she was 19. And my great-grandmother worked in ironing clothes for a living. She worked in a cleaners, which was a real sweatshop back in the day, really hard work. And when Marie, my grandmother, finally got her Social Security, this is a story, she went and indulged in an ice cream soda at the nearby drugstore, because back then they all had soda fountains at the drugstores, and she was enjoying that, and she had a heart attack, keeled over, and died. Just when she was about to begin enjoying her life as a retiree. And my grandmother's brother, this is what she told me at least, committed suicide. He hung himself. And so my grandma didn't have an easy life, but really what I wanted to talk about was this frontal lobe lobotomy, which is a total wicked invention of Esau in order to really castrate the minds of the children of Jacob Israel. That's another weapon that he used. And I'm seeing the same weapon in this moral enhancement, which they're talking about doing covertly. You can watch it all on YouTube. There is a champion of this covert moral bioenhancement. And Julian something or other, he's from Australia. And he talks about why it's important and you can see why it's important to them, because what it really is ultimately going to culminate in is people not being able to discern, having no discretion about the mark of the beast. They want you completely complicit and at their mercy and at their service, because they want their will to be done. So here it says, what is moral improvement? A straightforward way to define moral enhancement is as an intervention that leaves an individual with morally better motives or behaviors than they otherwise would have had. How can that be? If you take a pill, you're going to have better motives. You see, that what they're really trying to do is they're trying to sell this to people. And they want you to believe that you taking a pill is going to give you more advantages. It's going to, and it will, because if you're complicit and doing the will of the forces that should not be, they will of course raise you up in their hierarchy. The only problem is you will not be able to tell good from evil and evil from good. And you'll start doing things that are against the laws of God and transgressing his commandments. Taking the mark of the beast, worshiping his image and the number of his name. What is enhancement in biology? The concept of human biological enhancement has been used to describe the augmentation of human capacities based on some sort of biological manipulation. You know what the whole thing too is here? What they've been trying, it used to be that germs cause disease. Then it was bacteria. Then it was virus. If we can just eradicate the bacteria and the virus, we can eradicate all disease. That is not true, because they are changing the blood. They're changing the blood by adding to it iron. And it says and iron, I mean that very broadly. Metals, heavy metals. Daniel 2:43, the iron injected into the clay, miry clay will not cleave, it will break apart. And nowadays what they're trying to do is tell you that everything is a genetic defect. And the implication there is, and of course the accusation against God is, he doesn't know what he's doing. And I remember when I was young, there was a motto. You know how these memes just come and go. There was a meme at the time, God don't make no junk. And that's the truth. God makes us in his image. He made us perfect. And it is Satan who is introducing the iron into the clay, which will not cleave. It's not God at all, in my opinion. But the implication is there, the accusation against God, this railing against God, that he's a liar. But who is the liar but the father of lies, Satan? Everything is turned on its head in this paradigm. It's inversion, perversion, subversion. And this moral bioenhancement is just really, when I read that the other day, it's like, you never quit learning. I mean, out of 1,000 comments, you'll find one, and then you'll find something like this. Beneficence. The 4 pillars of medical ethics. Beneficence, doing good. Non-maleficence, to do no harm. Autonomy. It sounds to me like a dialectic here. Beneficious, non-maleficence. And of course, the scales are still not balanced. It's totally unbalanced. That's a world that we're living in. Off the charts. Full tilt. Insanity. Autonomy. Giving the patient the freedom to choose freely where they are able. You see, because Satan tells mankind they're not free. There is no free will. And if you do evil, it's God's fault. So the more evil you do, the more grace can abound. to my mind, it's perverse. But I mean, I should be careful because I didn't get a strike, but I had been making some comments yesterday on a video about, is religion bad for society? And this morning I got a warning saying that I was cited for hate speech. So there you go. Anybody can say what they want, except if you tell the truth, you're cited for hate speech. Because people cannot tolerate the truth. So the 4 pillars are beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, and justice. Ensuring fairness. Well, what is fairness? Is fairness righteousness? So anyway, I just want to, how can moral values be improved? There's a slew of questions here. Be a role model, a culture that is uplifting and supportive, explicitly teach moral values. Why isn't any of this taught in school? Why? Why do they need to give you a pill? Schooling should be enough, but of course schooling is, of course, the first step, and then covertly changing you biomedically. You see, it sounds good. Moral bioenhancement. Oh my goodness. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And you know that the vaccination is, of course, another biomedical enhancement. And people say that it's an experiment, but I think that they really know what they're doing because vaccinations have been around for hundreds of years in one form or another. It's also in the food. It's just really, the only hope is in Messiah. And he is our hope. And he is the way, the truth, and the life. Please repent, believe the truth, and be saved, endure, and overcome. And do not comply with this wickedness, no matter how much pressure they put on you.